Hello, and welcome to today's podcast. If you're learning English and want to improve your writing, you're in the right place. I'm Sophia, and I'm here with James.
Hi everyone, we're really excited to help you with your writing today. Writing can feel hard sometimes, but with a few tips, it can become easier and even fun.
That's right, writing is one of the most important skills when learning a language. Whether you're sending a text message, writing an email, or maybe even writing a story or a report, writing in English is useful everywhere.
And it's not just about grammar or spelling. Good writing also means organizing your ideas clearly and choosing the right words so people can understand what you're trying to say. Today, we'll talk about how you can do just that.
So, where should we begin? Well, first, let's talk about why improving your writing is important. When you write well, you can communicate better with people. They understand what you want to say, and you can express your thoughts and feelings clearly.
Exactly. And if you're studying or working, writing is something you'll use almost every day. So, improving your writing skills will help you in school, at work, and even in your personal life. It's a skill that can open many doors for you.
One of the first tips we want to share with you is to practice writing often. Just like speaking or listening, writing improves when you do it regularly. You don't have to write a lot every day. Even writing a few sentences or a short paragraph can make a big difference over time.
That's a great point. Sometimes people think they need to write long essays to practice, but that's not true. You can write about simple things, like what you did during the day or what you plan to do tomorrow. The important thing is to keep practicing.
Yes, and when you write, don't worry too much about making mistakes. It's okay if your grammar isn't perfect at first. What matters is that you try. The more you write, the better you'll get. You can always correct your mistakes later.
Exactly. Mistakes are part of learning. One way to practice is to keep a journal. Do you know what a journal is, Sophia?
Oh yes, a journal is like a notebook where you write about your day, your thoughts, or your plans. It's a great way to practice writing because you can do it every day, and it's something personal just for you. Nobody needs to read it, so you can feel free to make mistakes and learn from them.
Right, and it doesn't have to be long or complicated. You can write just a few sentences. For example, you can start by writing, "Today, I went to the park. It was sunny and I felt happy. I saw many people walking their dogs."
I love that example. It's simple, but it helps you practice forming sentences, using new words, and even expressing your feelings. Over time, you can write more and try new ideas.
Another good idea is to read what you've written. After you finish writing, read it again. This helps you see any mistakes and gives you a chance to think about how you can make your sentences clearer.
Yes, that's a good habit to build. Sometimes, when we write, we don't see small mistakes or ways to make our writing better. Reading it again lets us improve little by little.
And don't forget, if you're not sure about something, like a word or how to spell it, you can use a dictionary. There are many great online dictionaries that can help you find the right words.
Definitely, using a dictionary is a great way to learn new words, too. If you're not sure how to say something, look it up and try using it in your writing. The more you use new words, the more you'll remember them.
Another thing to remember is that writing is personal. Everyone writes differently, and that's okay. Some people write quickly, and some people need more time to think about what they want to say. Find what works best for you, and don't rush.
Yes, it's important to write in your own way. Some people like to plan before they write. They make a list of the main ideas they want to include. Others like to just start writing and organize their ideas later. Try both methods and see what feels better for you.
Planning can be really helpful, especially if you have a lot to say. You can organize your ideas so that your writing is clear and easy to follow. But if you like to be more creative and just write as you go, that's fine too.
That's a great tip. Writing can be fun and creative. The key is to find what makes you comfortable and keep practicing. The more you practice, the more you'll improve, and soon, writing in English will feel much easier.
Now that we've talked about some basic tips to help you start writing more often, let's dig a little deeper into how you can make your writing clearer and more interesting. Writing isn't just about putting words on paper. It's about sharing your ideas and making sure other people can understand what you mean.
Yes, and one of the best ways to make your writing clearer is to focus on structure. By structure, we mean how your sentences and paragraphs are organized. When you organize your writing well, it's easier for people to follow your ideas. Let's start with sentences.
That's right. A sentence should express one complete idea. A common mistake is trying to put too many ideas into one sentence. This can make your writing confusing. So, a good rule is to keep your sentences simple and direct, especially when you're learning.
Exactly. For example, instead of writing, "I went to the park, and it was sunny, and there were many people, and I saw a dog, and the dog was big, and I felt happy," you can break it into shorter, clearer sentences. I went to the park, it was sunny, and there were many people. I saw a big dog, and I felt happy.
See how much easier it is to understand when we break it into smaller sentences. It's clearer and it's more enjoyable to read. So, when you're writing, take your time and make sure each sentence focuses on one main idea.
Another good tip is to use connecting words to show how your ideas fit together. These are words like and, but, so, because, and then. They help link your ideas and make your writing flow smoothly.
Yes, connecting words are like glue that holds your sentences together. Let's take another example. You could write, "I was tired." I went to bed early. That's fine, but if you use a connecting word, it becomes clearer. I was tired, so I went to bed early. The word "so" shows the reason why you went to bed early.
That's a great example. And remember, you don't have to use connecting words in every sentence. But using them sometimes can make your writing more natural and easier to follow. It's all about balance.
Speaking of balance, another important part of writing is paragraph structure. Now, if you're new to writing, you might be wondering, what exactly is a paragraph?
Good question. A paragraph is a group of sentences that all focus on one main idea. For example, if you're writing about your day, one paragraph might be about your morning, another paragraph about your afternoon, and another about your evening. Each paragraph has its own topic.
Exactly. Paragraphs help break your writing into smaller sections, which makes it easier for the reader to understand. And just like sentences, paragraphs should be clear and focused. Don't try to talk about too many things in one paragraph. Stick to one topic, and when you move to a new idea, start a new paragraph.
Here's a tip. Start each paragraph with a topic sentence. The topic sentence tells the reader what the paragraph will be about. For example, if you're writing about your morning, you could start with, "My morning was very busy." Then, the rest of the paragraph should explain why your morning was busy.
Yes, that's a great way to guide the reader through your writing. It's like giving them a map so they know what to expect. And at the end of the paragraph, you can summarize the main idea or move smoothly into the next topic.
Let's take another example. If you're writing about your favorite food, you might start with a topic sentence like, "I love pizza because it's delicious and easy to make." Then, you can explain why you like pizza. Maybe you like the taste of the cheese, or you like how crispy the crust is.
That's a perfect example. Notice how the topic sentence tells the reader what the paragraph will be about, and then the rest of the paragraph gives details to support that idea. This makes your writing clear and easy to follow.
Another thing to keep in mind is that not all paragraphs need to be long. Some paragraphs might be only 2 or 3 sentences, especially when you're writing something short like an email or a message. The important thing is to make sure each paragraph focuses on one main idea.
That's a good point. In fact, short paragraphs can be very powerful. Sometimes, when you want to make a big point or highlight something important, a short paragraph can really stand out. For example, you could write something like, "It was the best day of my life." Just one sentence, but it grabs the reader's attention.
Exactly. So now that we've talked about sentences and paragraphs, let's talk about something else that can really improve your writing: vocabulary. The more words you know, the more clearly you can express yourself.
That's right, but don't worry, you don't need to know hundreds of difficult words to write well. In fact, using simple words is often better, especially when you're learning. The key is to choose words that are accurate and fit what you want to say.
Yes, let's say you're writing about being happy. You could use the word happy, but there are also other words you could use, like joyful, excited, or pleased. Each word has a slightly different meaning, and using the right word can make your writing more interesting.
Another example is describing something big. You could use big, but you might also say huge, enormous, or gigantic. Each of these words gives the reader a clearer picture of what you mean. So, learning new words is a great way to improve your writing.
Yes, and one way to build your vocabulary is to read more. When you read, you see how other people use words, and you can learn new ways to express yourself. You can also write down new words you like and try to use them in your own writing.
That's a great tip, and don't forget, it's okay to start simple. You don't need to use fancy words to write well. What's important is that your writing is clear and easy to understand. Over time, as you learn more words, you can start using them in your writing.
One last thing about vocabulary: be careful not to overuse the same words. If you find that you're using the same word again and again, try to think of a synonym, a different word that means the same thing. This will make your writing more varied and interesting.
Yes, like if you keep saying very good, you can try other words like great, excellent, or fantastic. It makes your writing more colorful and keeps the reader engaged.
So, to sum up what we've talked about so far, focus on writing clear sentences with one idea each. Organize your paragraphs so each one has a main topic, and use vocabulary that fits your message. And most importantly, don't be afraid to practice. Now that we've discussed writing clear sentences, organizing paragraphs, and using the right vocabulary, let's move on to something that many people find difficult: writing for different purposes.
Yes, writing changes depending on why you're writing and who you're writing for. Writing a casual message to a friend is different from writing a formal email, right?
Exactly, and understanding the difference is key to improving your writing. Let's start with informal writing. This is the kind of writing you use when you're chatting with friends, sending a text message, or writing on social media. Informal writing is more relaxed. You don't need to worry too much about grammar or structure, and you can use slang or short forms like LOL or BTW.
Right. For example, if you're texting your friend, you might write, "Hey, what's up? Wanna hang out later?" It's casual, simple, and friendly. You don't need to write full sentences or use perfect grammar when you're talking to friends.
Exactly. But even in informal writing, it's important to make sure your message is clear. Sometimes people use too many short forms or abbreviations, and it can become hard to understand. So try to keep things simple and easy to read, even when you're writing informally.
That's a great point. Now, let's talk about formal writing. Formal writing is different because it's used in more professional situations, like when you're writing an email to a teacher, a boss, or someone you don't know very well. In formal writing, you need to be more careful with grammar, punctuation, and the words you choose.
Yes, formal writing is more structured, and you should avoid using slang or short forms. For example, instead of writing hey or hi in a formal email, you might start with dear or hello, and instead of writing wanna meet later, you would say, would you like to meet later? It sounds more polite and professional.
Exactly. Another thing to keep in mind with formal writing is to be clear and direct, but also polite. You want to get your point across, but in a respectful way. Let's say you're writing to a teacher about a project. Instead of writing, "I need more time for the project," you could say, "I would appreciate more time to complete the project if possible." It's a small change, but it sounds much more respectful.
That's a good example. And this doesn't just apply to emails. Formal writing can also be used for essays, reports, or letters. The key is to match the tone and style to the situation. In formal writing, you want to show that you've thought carefully about what you're saying.
Yes, and here's another tip. When you're writing something formal, it's a good idea to plan before you start. Take a few minutes to think about what you want to say. You could even write down some notes or make a list of the main points you want to cover. This will help you organize your thoughts and make sure your message is clear.
Planning is so important, especially for formal writing. It helps you avoid getting lost in the middle of your writing and ensures you don't forget any important points. And after you finish writing, always read through it again to check for mistakes or unclear sentences.
That's a great point. Proofreading is a big part of improving your writing. Sometimes when we write, we're focused on getting our ideas down, and we might not notice small errors like missing words or typos. By reading your work again, you can catch those mistakes and fix them before you send or share your writing.
Yes, and when you proofread, try to look at your writing from the reader's point of view. Ask yourself, is it clear? Is it easy to understand? Does it make sense? Sometimes, just taking a short break before you proofread can help you see things more clearly.
Another thing to remember is that formal writing should be more structured. For example, in an email or essay, you should have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. In the introduction, you explain the main idea or purpose of your writing. The body is where you give more details, and the conclusion is where you summarize your points or give a final thought.
Yes, and it's important to make sure your writing flows smoothly from one part to the next. You can use transition words to help with this. Transition words are like bridges that connect your ideas. Words like first, next, however, therefore, and finally can help guide the reader through your writing.
That's a great tip. For example, if you're writing an essay, you could start the introduction by saying, first, let's look at the main idea of the topic. Then in the body, you could use next to move on to the next point. Next, we will explore the details of this idea. And in the conclusion, you could say, finally, let's summarize what we've learned.
Yes, transition words help your writing feel more connected and easier to follow. It makes your writing feel smoother, and the reader can see how each part fits together. And this can be useful in both formal and informal writing, depending on the situation.
Another important aspect of writing is understanding your audience. Who are you writing for? Your audience can change how you write. If you're writing to a friend, your tone will be more relaxed and casual. But if you're writing to a teacher or a boss, you need to be more formal and respectful.
Yes, knowing your audience is key. It helps you choose the right words and the right tone. For example, if you're writing to a group of people who don't know you very well, it's important to be more formal and clear so they understand your message. But if you're writing to close friends, you can be more informal and use jokes or casual language.
That's a great point. Let's look at an example. If you're writing an email to a friend, you might say, "Hey, I can't make it to the party tonight, but I hope you have a great time." But if you're writing to your boss about not being able to attend a meeting, you would say something like, "I regret to inform you that I will be unable to attend the meeting this evening."
Yes, see how the tone changes depending on who you're writing to. In the message to your friend, it's casual and friendly. But in the message to your boss, it's polite and professional. The way you write changes based on who you're talking to and the situation.
And that's not just for writing emails or messages. If you're writing a report for school or work, think about who will read it. If it's for a teacher or a boss, make sure your writing is clear, professional, and well organized. If it's for friends or family, you can be more relaxed.
Another thing to remember when thinking about your audience is the level of detail you include. For example, if you're writing to someone who already knows a lot about the topic, you don't need to explain everything in detail. But if your audience is new to the subject, you'll need to give more information to help them understand.
Yes, and it's important to strike a balance. You don't want to give too little information, but you also don't want to overwhelm the reader with too much detail. Think about what the reader needs to know and what's the best way to explain it.
Another great way to improve your writing, especially when writing for different purposes or audiences, is to read different types of writing. Read emails, read essays, read stories. The more you see how different people write for different situations, the more you can learn and apply those techniques to your own writing.
Absolutely. Reading is one of the best ways to learn how to write. When you read, pay attention to how the writer organizes their sentences and paragraphs, how they use different words, and how they structure their ideas. Then, try to use those techniques in your own writing.
Yes, and don't be afraid to experiment with different styles. You can try writing a formal letter, then switch to writing a casual text message, and then maybe try writing a story. Each type of writing helps you develop different skills.
And remember, writing is a skill that gets better with practice. The more you write, the more comfortable you'll become with using different styles, tones, and vocabulary. So, keep writing. We've covered so much in this podcast about improving your writing, and now we're ready to dive into some final tips that can take your writing from good to great. We've talked about the basics like sentence structure, paragraph organization, and vocabulary. We've also discussed how to write for different purposes, whether it's formal or informal. But there's one more aspect of writing that we need to explore, and that's creativity in your writing.
Yes, writing isn't just about following rules and making sure everything is correct. It's also about expressing yourself. When you write, you have the chance to share your thoughts, your ideas, and even your personality. So let's talk about how you can add more creativity to your writing, even if you're writing something simple.
Creativity doesn't mean you have to write poetry or long stories. It simply means finding ways to make your writing more engaging and interesting. One great way to do this is by adding details. The more specific you are, the more your writing comes to life.
That's a great point. Let's think of an example. If you write, "I went to the store," that's a simple sentence, but it doesn't really give the reader much information. Now imagine you write, "I went to the busy market on a sunny afternoon, and the smell of fresh bread filled the air." Suddenly, your writing is more detailed, and the reader can picture exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. Details help paint a picture in the reader's mind. Whether you're describing a place, a person, or a feeling, the more specific you can be, the better. Instead of saying, "The dog was big," you could say, "The golden retriever was so tall that its head reached my waist." This makes the description more vivid and helps the reader imagine it more clearly.
Another way to be creative in your writing is by using descriptive language. Adjectives and adverbs can make your writing more colorful and interesting. For example, instead of writing, "She walked across the room," you could write, "She slowly tiptoed across the room, her footsteps barely making a sound." See how that changes the feeling of the sentence.
Yes, and it's not just about adding more words. It's about choosing the right words to create the feeling or image you want. Descriptive words can bring your writing to life, whether you're writing a story, an essay, or even an email.
Another creative technique is to use similes and metaphors. These are ways to compare two things to make your writing more interesting. A simile uses the words like or as to compare two things, while a metaphor directly says one thing is another. For example, a simile might be, "The night was as quiet as a sleeping cat." A metaphor would be, "The night was a blanket of silence."
Similes and metaphors can really add depth to your writing. They help the reader see things in a new way and can make your descriptions more powerful. But remember, you don't have to use them in every sentence, just in the right moments to make your writing stand out.
Yes, and another way to add creativity to your writing is to play with the tone of your writing. The tone is the feeling or attitude that comes through in your words. It could be serious, funny, relaxed, or even exciting. Let's say you're writing about your favorite holiday. If you want the tone to be happy and excited, you might write something like, "I can't wait for the holiday. I love the bright lights, the music, and spending time with my family."
And if you want the tone to be more serious, you could write something like, "The holiday season always reminds me of the importance of family and taking time to reflect on what truly matters." See how the tone changes depending on how you choose your words. It's another way to add personality to your writing.
That's a great example. And tone can be important whether you're writing something informal like a blog post or something formal like a letter. It helps set the mood for the reader and lets them know how they should feel about what you're writing.
Another tip for improving your writing is to focus on your own voice. This is something that develops over time, but it's one of the most important aspects of creative writing. Your voice is the unique way you express yourself through your writing. It's what makes your writing sound like you.
That's so true. Everyone's writing voice is a little different, and that's what makes writing so special. Some people have a more serious, direct voice, while others might write in a more casual, conversational way. Finding your voice is about being true to yourself and writing in a way that feels natural to you.
Yes, and don't feel like you have to copy other people's writing styles. While it's great to learn from other writers, your own voice is what will make your writing stand out. It's okay if your writing doesn't sound perfect at first. Over time, you'll get more comfortable with it.
Another great way to develop your voice is to write regularly. The more you practice writing, the more your voice will become clear. You might start to notice certain phrases or ways of expressing yourself that feel unique to you. And that's a good thing. It means your voice is coming through in your writing.
And speaking of practice, another important tip is to challenge yourself. Try writing about new topics or in different styles. If you always write short emails or messages, try writing a longer story or a detailed description. If you usually write in a casual style, try writing something more formal.
Yes, pushing yourself to try new things will help you grow as a writer. You might surprise yourself with what you can do, and don't worry if it's not perfect. Every time you write, you're learning and improving, even if you make mistakes.
Another thing to remember is that writing is not just about creating something perfect on the first try. It's okay to revise and edit your writing. In fact, revising is a big part of writing well. When you revise, you go back and improve your writing by fixing mistakes, making sentences clearer, and adding more details.
Yes, revising is key. After you finish writing something, take a break, and then come back to it with fresh eyes. You might notice sentences that don't flow well or areas where you can add more information. Don't be afraid to make changes, it's all part of the process.
And remember, it's not just about fixing mistakes. Revision can also be about making your writing more creative or improving how you explain your ideas. You might even find ways to add more descriptive language or better examples.
Another tip for improving your writing is to get feedback. Sometimes we can't see our own mistakes or areas where we can improve. That's why it's helpful to ask someone else to read your writing. They might notice things you didn't see, and they can give you advice on how to make your writing better.
Yes, it can be a friend, a teacher, or even a writing partner. Getting feedback doesn't mean your writing is bad, it just means there's always room for improvement. And sometimes, other people can give you ideas on how to explain things more clearly or how to make your writing more interesting.
And don't forget, when you get feedback, use it as a chance to learn. You don't have to agree with every suggestion, but try to understand why someone gave that feedback. It can help you see your writing from a new perspective.
One more thing to keep in mind is that improving your writing takes time. It's a skill that develops slowly with practice. Don't be discouraged if it feels difficult at first. The more you write, the better you'll get.
Yes, and it's important to enjoy the process. Writing can be a fun and creative way to express yourself. Don't be afraid to experiment with different styles, try new things, and let your personality shine through your words.
So, whether you're writing a story, an email, or even just a quick message to a friend, remember to use the tips we've talked about in this podcast. Focus on clear sentences, organize your paragraphs, use descriptive language, and most importantly, be yourself in your writing.
Absolutely. Writing is a skill that everyone can improve with practice, so keep writing, keep learning, and most of all, keep enjoying it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of our podcast on how to improve your writing in English.
Yes, thank you for joining us. We hope these tips have been helpful and that you feel more confident in your writing. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this podcast with your friends and family who are also learning English.
And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to talk about in future episodes, feel free to leave a comment or send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. So, until next time, keep practicing, keep writing, and have fun with it.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.